Hi again and welcome. This time I don't have one, but I have two presenters for you, Jennifer and Kay. Jennifer is an instructor and licensed family therapist specializing in prenatal psychology and the brain's first imprints in life. She has worked for 20 years in education, both in NYC and CA, providing social, emotional, and academic support to students of all ages. She loves watching little minds grow and using holistic methods to champion their possibilities. She's partnered with Kay. Kay is an educational therapist who works with neurodiverse learners in early literacy and executive functioning skills. Her career in education began 12 years ago as an elementary school teacher before she founded her own private educational therapy practice. Her passion is fostering kids' curiosity, focus, self-monitoring skills, and time awareness. And this has given birth to their amazing presentation called Rising Tech-Wise Littles. I hope you enjoy Kay and Jennifer's presentation as much as we all have enjoyed putting this summit presentation together. Everyone, this is Kay and Jennifer's presentation. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so welcome. I'm Kay and this is Jennifer, and we're really glad you're here today. And we are Tech-Wise Littles, and we're both moms, we're both educators, and we're also both therapists. I'm an educational therapist here in Santa Barbara, California, and I've been in education for about 12 years, first as an elementary school teacher and now as an educational therapist. And I work in private practice here in Santa Barbara, and Jennifer is a colleague and a friend.
I'm Jennifer. I've worked in education for 20 years, both as a teacher and as a licensed family therapist. Kay and I both work primarily with middle schoolers, and we see the effects of tech with kids 10 years down the road from where we currently are as moms, which is one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you today. We believe it's important to set tech boundaries now when your littles are really little to make your lives easier. Our mission at Tech-Wise Littles is for you to be a confident tech-wise parent and raise healthy tech-wise littles from birth. We want you to feel confident in your parenting in this tech world from the day you bring your baby home from the hospital. So why do we care about tech in the early years? Well, really, there's no more important time in one's brain than the first few years of life. Your child has just gone from the world of the womb to planet Earth, and that's a giant transition. They're encountering the world for the first time, and these first few years of life are all about novel and new experiences. Every new sight, all the new foods, meeting other humans. These are all virgin experiences, and every day is chock full of them. It's literally mind-blowing for these littles. One way to think about what's going on in their brains is, as adults, it's almost impossible to comprehend this kind of mental explosion going on in a baby's brain. It would be like the adult equivalent of you touring the globe and arriving in a new country every day, complete with all new foods and language sounds and spice smells and music. And talk about exhilarating and exhausting. That's why it's our job as parents to help nurture these little brains as best we can. They need us to guide them, to show them all the great sights and protect them from the ones that their brains aren't designed to handle yet, like too much tech or screens.
Exactly. And since we're both therapists, we are really aware that the first few years are so important. And we're both often working with middle school parents at a time when the teen brain is so malleable, and we understand how the screens are going to affect the middle. So when working with middle schoolers, we're understanding how the screens are affecting their brains from anywhere from their social interactions to their attention to their language. But now, since we're new moms, we're seeing that conversation on healthy tech needs to start earlier. We feel like it's actually happening too late, that when your child is in late elementary school or middle school, it's too late to start that conversation. So when we became parents, we saw that babies were just as fascinated and just as enamored by tech as teenagers are. So that's exactly why we started Tech-Wise Littles. Says between the ages of 2 and 3, kids already feel the pressure of tech in the world. They already feel that need to be on tech, and parents are already feeling that pressure of tech. So we all know that those first few years are really crucial for a baby's brain development, for their language. And so these are the years that we should be setting these boundaries. These are the years that are most important, and we should be building really tech healthy relationships in the household this early on. It needs to start now. We really can't wait till our kids are older anymore.
That's so true. There's actually no other time in life that the brain connects at this speed than age 0 to 5. There's no other time in life where your child learns at this speed. At the same time, your child's brain is physically growing large. During those first 3 years of life, the brain itself triples in size. By the time your child is 5, 90% of their brain growth has occurred, housing all those fantastic neuron connections. So more than any other time in life, these little brains are wiring and firing, capturing the world, making sense of it, and logging their experience. This huge window of growth gives us huge opportunity and responsibility as parents. So why do these early connections matter? Because these become your child's map on how they navigate the world. Early brain development is the foundation of adaptability and resilience, which are key success factors in life. And that's why we believe it's important to teach healthy tech to littles now, to teach them that tech is an adult tool rather than a play toy, and to set safe boundaries around content and context and different media types and lengths. Creating safe boundaries as a family starting from birth.
Yep, exactly. So these are some great statistics. It may seem silly to you for us to be talking about tech this young. But if you look at the statistics, you can see that it's really important for us to be looking at tech this young. The American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending no screen time except for video chatting below 2 years old. But you can see the average amount of screen time that a child's on in this age is actually over 2 hours a day. And from 2 to 5 years old, it's up to 1 hour a day is the recommendation by the American Academy of Pediatrics. But in reality, kids are on average using screens 2.5 hours a day. And from once a child is 8 years old, the average screen use is upward of 6 hours. And we know this has been completely exacerbated in the pandemic as well.
And it's almost no wonder so many teenagers show up in our offices. It's an uphill battle with tech that almost starts too late. So there's this fabulous quote by Archbishop Desmond Tutu that says, "There comes a point where we need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in." And that's the reason we started TechWise Littles. We've seen hundreds of teenagers falling into the river of too much tech. And as educators and therapists and parents, we wanted to head upstream and look at those early patterns, those early boundaries, and give our littles the best shot at navigating their tech world from birth. But then we need to pause and get honest. We all know we've been living through a pandemic, and it's not a shocker that everybody's screen time use is up, way up. Mine is, we're on screens right now. But it's been sanity for many of us, right? This year we've been in survival mode, navigating what is hopefully a once in a lifetime experience. It's a lot to juggle.
Yes, it's so much to juggle. And we're all living in a time right now where we're hearing all of the negative effects of screens. We're getting enamored by all of the negative effects that happen when kids are using screens too much. There's such a bad rap about screens for everyone, even adults and teens. And now the research is actually finally talking about the effects on our littlest kids. So higher use of screens have actually been linked to this entire list of stuff, things that we don't want for our kids. Some example is learning later on in the classroom, their sleep, gross motor skills, their fine motor skills, like that ability to hold a pencil, their attention span, language development, their self-regulation, or their ability to calm themselves down. Their eyesight can even be affected, and also their social skills. So these are all different things that there's been research correlated to about too much screen time in these early 0 to 5 years.
On the flip side, the higher use of screens is linked to higher anxiety, depression, sleep issues, body weight. These aren't pretty pictures, particularly since we were almost forced into a world of screens this last year. We have very much felt the effects, both Kay and I. We've been working from home with our littles. It has not been easy. Some days are brutal. And a lot of us have been left with no choice than to surrender to remote learning, to remote work, to being on devices more than ever, to giving our kids more devices than ever. And that's why it can be so confusing, because screens both connect us and allow us to do more things with ease. But at the same time, we aren't supposed to have too much of them.
It's really confusing. So that's why we're here. That's why we started TechWise Littles. We really wanted to ask ourselves, is it the greater amount of screen time that's detrimental, or is it that what the screen time replaces in our kids' lives that's detrimental? And Jennifer, I'll let you keep going with this one.
Yeah, that's really hard to quantify, even for the researchers. So is it the screen, or is it what the kids are missing out on when they're on the screen? Something also very important to note as we talk about this is that handheld tech is really new as a parenting device. It's only been added in this last generation. The iPad came out 10 years ago, and the iPhone is 13 years old. That's new. Sure, many of us grew up with a TV, but we're actually the first generation to raise littles with tech everywhere. Phones, computers, iPads, apps, everywhere we go. When I was a kid, we had one giant TV, a few stations of slow films like Mr. Rogers. And if there was a picture taken of me, it took a few weeks to finish the film roll, take that film roll to the mall, get it developed, and then finally see the photo. Life was just a little bit slower.
It was so much slower. Everything's so fast paced now. So tech is officially entered our lives in full force, and it's not going away. And we can't run away from it, and we absolutely shouldn't run away from it. That is our perspective here at TechWise Littles, is that we should learn to live with it in a healthy way. Remember, this is only about 10 years old, so we're in the first 10 years of parents navigating this world. So when you start crunching the research, it's true, there is a correlation with higher screen time and lower rates of things like sleep and language and development, a lot of things we listed before, like self-regulation and social skills, but it's not exactly an outcome we want for our kids. But also what we really want you to take home today is that the research is very nuanced. Not all screens or screen time is created in an equal way. We want to break it down for you today. So how are screens not equal? How can you decide what is the best screens or screen time for your kid to have? Not every family, child, adult uses screens in the same way. Therefore, there needs to be more specifics around how we use screens, why we use screens, how long we use screens, and when we use screens. We can't just have a blanket statement that says yes to screens or no to screens, because it's just not that easy. It's not that simple. So we, Jennifer and I at TechWise Littles, want parents to become tech wise. And we want you to know, what does that even mean to be tech wise? What does it mean to be a tech wise parent or to raise a tech wise kid? It actually means having a healthy relationship with tech. It means you're a parent that's not terrified of tech, but it also means you're a parent that's not obsessed with tech. It means that you're not glued to your phone all day long too, or at least we don't want to be. So it pretty much means we parent in the middle. In terms of screens and tech, we parent in the middle. Parenting, we're neither fearful or obsessed. And it also means raising a kid that's neither fearful or obsessed. It's having a healthy relationship with tech and healthy boundaries and healthy goals. So Jennifer and I personally aren't screen-free parents, and we're also not screen obsessed. We follow the research, and we don't just assume that tech is fine all the time or tech is evil. We look at the tech in a way to see how it adds to our lives. So how can it make our lives better and enrich our kids' lives? And then we make guidelines around that, so parents have the clarity to do that and do the best for their child. There's so much information out there. There's so much misinformation out there around tech. And we want moms and dads to use screens with confidence, because then they will feel more confident about knowing the different types of media, the different types of content, the different lengths, and the different ways to view screens as a parent.
So one of our first takeaways we want to give you is not all screens are created equal. So we have two big screen strategies to go over that you can use right away in your homes. And this is the first one. There is a hierarchy of screens for your little one, and there's a big difference between your kiddo watching TV versus the iPad. For example, a TV across the room is a much better choice than a device in your child's hand for multiple researched reasons that we get into in our TechWise Littles course. So next time you need a short break, swap the iPad for the TV. It's that simple. Our second takeaway is there's also a difference in what they watch, whether it's educational or entertaining. So educational shows are better than consuming mindless media for only entertainment purposes.
Exactly. Yep. And also there's also a difference when we look at screens in the pacing of what your child's consuming. So think about the old-fashioned shows that we used to watch growing up. They were a lot more slow moving, and they had a beginning, middle, and an end. And those are the pacings that we want. We want slower shows versus something that flips the screen every time they touch, every time the screen. We don't want screens to change every time a child touches it. The reason why is when a child is interacting with a touch screen or really fast-paced media, the people who designed these shows and these apps, they actually were designed for your child to be addicted to it and to crave it more and more and more, and to crave it longer. And when a child craves it longer and longer, it's something that becomes a norm for them. It's almost eye candy, brain candy, and it's all designed to hook your child to keep them there and want it more and more and more. So if your little gets used to that level of entertainment and that level of instant stimulation, that actually makes your job as a parent harder, because when they're used to that entertainment, they're actually going to think and demand your attention all the time, and demand that you're going to jump as soon as they ask you to do something. And we don't want that. We want our children to expect a more slow-paced, patient world opposed to this fast-paced world. So the next piece around not all screens are created equal is there's actually a difference in the time of day your child uses screens. And so it's really important that screens are off as close to bedtime as possible, because screens before bedtime can actually be correlated to less quality sleep for your little.
Yes, and our fifth point, not all screens is created equal. There's a big difference in research whether kids are watching media alone as a solo activity or as a group family activity. So the fifth takeaway is group screen time, known as joint media engagement, actually has positive effects on kids because they're getting that real life 3D experience with them rather than a more isolating 2D world. So all this to say, the blanket statement that all screen time is bad is simply not true. It's very nuanced in the research, and we know all of these facts can be mind-numbing to figure out, which is why we encourage you to follow along with us on our Instagram at TechWise Littles, because we get you don't have the time to crunch the research or figure out the nuances. It's much easier to just be completely screen-free or completely screen-in.
Yep. We're doing this for you. We're taking the middle road, the realistic road here at TechWise Littles. We don't want you to be fearful of tech or obsessed with it. We just want you to be able to follow the research. And something that we want to continue to talk about in our next big takeaway is it the screen itself causing the detriment, or is it what the screen replaces that's causing that issue? We really want to highlight that. So our next big point is
and perhaps this is our most important point.
Yes.
It's not that screens are bad. It's what screens swap out from the day that can be detrimental. So think about it this way. There's only so many free hours in a day. So as an adult, I can either spend my free time on Netflix or scrolling Instagram or reading a nice book or working out or cleaning, meeting friends, playing with my kids. You get it. So none of those are bad options, but I don't have time every single day to do all of them. And the same goes for our littles. When more screen time gets added to your child's daily diet, then what gets deleted? What often gets deleted is the good stuff, right? The playtime, the outdoor time, the boredom. Boredom's really healthy for kids. Boredom's first cousin, creativity, then can be diminished. Reading, conversation, cuddles, all the yummy face-to-face interaction and eye contact and touch and family conversations. You get what I'm saying. So that's often what gets taken out when screens get put in.
And these are the most important parts of a child's day, and they're actually proven to boost this list of things that we have here. If the more that a child has the opportunity to do these things, they're going to have stronger social skills, ability to learn, cognitive development, brain growth, all those yummies that too much screens can actually defeat. And this is huge. This is a huge question mark in the data. You see, it's not as easy as screens are bad. It's just the conversation's all wrong. It's not bad screens. It's about what good nutrients in a child's life fall to the wayside because screens exist. And that's like imaginative play, touch, boredom, and even eye-to-eye contact and conversation that kids are missing during screens. So these are like superfoods to your little's growing heart and brain. And these are the nutrients that the brain needs to thrive. So we're really asking ourselves as parents, as an adult, when we have only so much time in a day, what are you swapping out when you're swapping in a screen? What nutrients are you personally swapping out as an adult? So if your kid's not sitting in front of a screen, it won't necessarily rot their brain. It's more like, okay, that was 2 hours of day they were watching TV. What nutrients did they skip by doing that? And how can we be intentional about adding those pieces back on later in the day or in the week? And, we've had a really hard year with the pandemic. Now we can be really intentional about adding back those nutrients in the year to come.
Exactly, Kay. So we do this all the time with food diets, right? And I'm not talking diets like to lose weight diets, but diets meaning how I eat daily in general. So when I'm trying to eat healthfully, I not only look at my day, but I look at my week and my month. And I know in my own day, there's some times of the day where I can, I eat more healthfully. And then other times of the day where I need to decompress and have that chocolate, normally right after work. Then if I look at my whole week, we have pizza and ice cream Fridays, and the weekends are for more comfort food and takeout. So I try to cook up some fresh recipes during the weekdays. And then if you look at the whole year, there are whole months I plan on overindulgence, such as the holidays. I know I'll be eating super rich foods and desserts at every holiday party, pre-pandemic. So much so that some years after that indulgent December, I've made January a vegetable January or a dry January. So you have to look at the whole picture of the day, the week, the month, and even the year to find a balance that works for you. And the same goes with tech. Viewing tech as a piece of your kiddo's diet can help you really frame this. So will giving your kiddo an ice cream sundae rot their teeth out? No. But can they eat an ice cream sundae for dinner every night? No, because it's taking the place of other good nutrients that they need, right? So tech diets are the same way. It's not about tech being bad for your little or rotting your little's brain. It's about what other kid nutrients or superfoods are they missing out on by being full on tech for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if we start to think about tech as food, it can help us realize our own personal boundaries around it. Here at TechWise Littles, we're big believers. There's no one way to do this to be a TechWise parent. You have to find what works for you. So let's say you gave your little a giant hot fudge sundae this afternoon. Tonight, you might also not give them the bag of candy. So it's the same with tech. If you give your little long movie or show one day, that can be their fill for that day, or maybe even a few days, depending on your comfort level and your little's age and your kid's personality. But it's all about swapping in and swapping out, swaps and trades.
Awesome. So that's exactly what we want to leave you with today is where can I start today? Where can I go and do today in my home? And these are the 3 things you can go and do today. The first one is just to notice your trades. You can start by noticing when you use tech or when your family uses tech. Just notice. We personally know as parents that every day is not an A+ day. Some days are so hard, especially in a pandemic. And you have to work, and that means you have to be on tech, and that means you have to be on a Zoom call, and your child might be crawling all over you. But it's just important to notice how the tech is involved in your life and ask yourself, was today a high-tech day or a low-tech day for me and my children? Or was it a high-tech or low-tech week? And that leads us into, you can actually balance your trades. This is where we become a bit more intentional about our days. And if you notice it's been a high screen day or a high screen week or even a high screen year, you can be intentional about adding in some of the best nutrients, such as outside time, cuddle time, reading a book together that may have gone missing in that time. Yes, those are what's so important. And also, if you feel like you can't cut down on screen time in your house right away, you can start by adding that uninterrupted playtime with your child, or you can add in some time by watching a movie together and cuddling, which would be the best type of screen time. Instead of having them watch it on their own, you could just start there, and you can just pick something to add into your child's day that builds connection and eye contact and touch, or just simple downtime. That's a really great starting point. And our third one, Jennifer.
Yes, finally. When in doubt, fresh air it out. Get outside, running, playing, climbing, hanging upside down, just being a kid, not even necessarily in an organized activity or sport, but just getting fresh air is so important. School recess time counts for this too. So if your family's been really lean on outdoor time this year with the pandemic, be intentional about boosting that. Maybe consider an all-day outdoor day once a week. You can make it a nature day or a hiking day or a beach day or a park day. But outdoor time is proven to boost all of those good nutrients that we really want for our littles. So that's a wrap on why screen time gets a bad rap. So just in closing, remember, it's not about the actual screen. It's about what gets swapped out when screens get swapped in. Remember, though, to give yourself lots of grace. There's so much shame around tech and parenting. And literally, we are trailblazers right now, learning how to raise our kiddos with technology. And we just lived through a pandemic, right? So please be kind, no judgment, no shame. Every day is a chance to start fresh, no matter what happened yesterday or last month or last year. It's never too late to start having a healthier relationship with tech in your family. So we are here to help navigate this world with you. You can find us at TechWise Littles on Instagram or on our website, TechWise Littles.